Most shoulder issues come from a problem that nobody's talking about, which is your shoulder joint not being aligned properly in the center of the socket. When the shoulder joint is not centrated properly or directly in the center of the socket, your pecs tighten, the rotator cuff works on overtime, and every movement, every lift, every reach of the arm produces grinding in a bad way. Today I'm going to show you some of the best drills to fix this poor shoulder alignment issue that not only change the way that your shoulder feels and looks, but how it functions and moves as well. What's going on? Blake here. Like the hip joint, the shoulder joint is a ball and socket joint. This literally means that there is a ball at the head of the arm bone and a socket, all right? The ball is supposed to go into the center of the socket. This is a hip joint, but the analogy makes sense. They're both ball and socket joints, okay? Optimal centration of the hip or the shoulder means that the ball of the joint is positioned directly in the center of the socket. And when it is, rarely do you have any problems. You can move the joint around in all of its ranges of motion, flexion, extension, internal rotation, external rotation, adduction, abduction. Everything's good, everything feels good and is buttery and smooth. However, if that joint is misaligned, if the ball is not right in the center of the socket and it's forwards a little bit like this, now there's big problems. Now there's grinding, now there's catching, and all sorts of bad mechanical things happening. So this concept of optimal joint centration is critical. It's at the core of having healthy, mobile shoulders. Now, one thing that I see all the time with my online coaching clients is shoulders that are not properly centrated, where the humeral head, the arm bone, is what we call anteriorly rotated, which means it's rolled forwards, kind of like this, all right? This, very common, you'll see this all the time in people. Their arm bone is kind of like tilted forwards like this, and this is not good, okay? This is bad shoulder joint centration. We don't want this. We want you to be more like this. Okay, that first example when you're like this, that's like the arm bone being all jammed up in the front like this. Okay, we don't want that. We want this. We want it right in the center, and we want it to stay there and move around there and not have this be happening. But the reason why that happens and the shoulder rolls forwards oftentimes has more to do with just the muscles and a lot to do with the joint capsule itself. All right, enough talking. Let's just get into the drills that help to fix this specific issue. The first drill that I'm going to show you is called a banded joint distraction. You basically need a very thick resistance band tied around something really stable, like a squat rack or a tree, anything that's very stable, okay? What you're going to do is you're going to put the band around the head of the arm bone, okay? Right there at the top of the arm bone. We don't want it here over the collarbone, right? That's too deep. We want it right there, kind of on the outer edge of the shoulder. Think about that, okay? And what you're gonna do here is you're gonna lean forwards and get a bunch of different, you're gonna get a lot of tension on the band, okay? That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to get a lot of tension in the band. We're trying to relax the shoulder and allow the shoulder bone to move backwards in the joint capsule. So right now I'm fighting it, all right? I'm pushing my shoulder forwards like this, which you should not be doing during this. What we want to be doing here is relaxing and allowing that band to pull the shoulder bone into the back of the joint capsule. Okay, so we're trying to relax here. We're trying to keep a decent amount of tension on the band, but we're trying to relax and allow that arm bone to go backwards, okay? If you want to like make this a little bit more intense, you can put the arm behind the back as you do this, and you can kind of play around with it. Lean forwards, get more tension on the band, all right? It should feel comfortable, and we're just trying to explore different regions here, okay? Sometimes I don't put my arm behind the back. Sometimes I'll adjust the band while I'm doing this. I'll lean forwards, just trying to like hang on my shoulder joint and open up the back of the joint capsule. And that's actually what we're doing here with this, all right? We're using that band to pull the shoulder back like that. So they're not so rounded forwards, we're pulling it back this way, all right? And that can actually help open up the back of the joint capsule, which can sometimes get restricted. If the back of the joint capsule gets tight, all right, because your body is so used to your shoulders being rolled forwards like this, all right, and your shoulder has kind of molded itself around that, the back of the shoulder joint can become a problem. This drill opens that up, right? We're pulling that arm bone back, kind of opening up the tissue in the back side of the shoulder so that when we stop doing that stretch with the band, now we're hanging out in that more centrated position, all right? So this is an old school technique. I've showed this for probably like 10 years. It's just so powerful that it has to be included on this list here. Anytime I'm having a shoulder issue, this is definitely something I'll be working on because it's one of the most powerful ways to improve that joint centration. That's for sure gonna be exercise number one. How much should that be done on each side? As much as necessary, all right? It shouldn't hurt, it should feel good. You should notice that your shoulder feels different, it moves around better afterwards. I'd do that personally for anywhere between 30 seconds and a minute each side. Exercise number two is going to be thoracic spine pails and rails, all right, with shoulder flexion. A lot of people that have this poor shoulder centration are dumped forwards like this. They're anteriorly rotated. And what comes along with that is a lot of thoracic spine stiffness, okay? And also the inability to flex the arm bone. This is shoulder flexion. This is extension, okay? Usually people that have rounded forward shoulders are kind of stuck in extension like this. So this drill that I'm going to show you now basically helps to work on that flexion capacity. It's going to unglue the thoracic spine and help with that shoulder joint centration as well. To do this drill, you're basically going to lay down on your belly holding a stick and prop your elbows up with either yoga blocks as I'm doing, or you're going to use books. I'd encourage you to spend like, a minute or two just breathing in this position and telling your body that you're safe in this position, it feels okay. But once you've spent some time here, then we want to do the pails and the rails, which is muscle contraction. You're going to drive those elbows down into the blocks, gradually building up the intensity of that contraction until after about 30 seconds, you're pushing down as hard as you can. After you're done driving down into the blocks, now you're gonna do the rails portion of the contraction, which is you're now trying to lift those elbows up that way, straight up into the air, off of the blocks. There, same thing. You're going harder and harder and harder until at the end of 30 seconds, you're giving it maximal muscle contraction. This is an amazing drill for improving shoulder joint centration, shoulder mobility, and thoracic mobility as well. This is something that pretty much anybody that struggles to get their arms overhead, shoulder press, stuff like that, it's a beautiful drill for those things. How many rounds of pails and rails should you be doing? Kind of like that, the first drill, as much as necessary, all right? Does your shoulder feel better from doing it? If so, then we want it to be in the mix regularly, but conservatively, I might do 2 rounds of pails and rails. So that's 2 sets of 30 seconds pails, 30 seconds rails. The last stuff that I want to show you is kind of basic, but it's very relevant, all right? People that have that poor centration of the shoulder where it's dumped forwards like this, they have too much contraction of the muscles on the front side of their shoulder, like their pecs, and they have too much weakness in the muscles of the upper back, particularly the muscles that retract the scapula, all right? So, people have tried to debunk the idea of tight pecs for many years now. It's a very real thing. The pecs kind of adaptively shorten to a lot of poor postural positions that we're in. They get tight because of breathing patterns. There's a lot of reasons why they can become tight, but the tighter your pecs are, the more they're gonna drag that humeral head forwards and misalign the shoulder. So using a Theracane, using a percussion massage gun like this, okay? Blasting the pecs with this thing for 30 seconds and then stretching the pecs afterwards is a very powerful thing to do that really helps to improve shoulder joint centration, all right? I'll also stick a link to a video I made recently on the best ways to stretch the pecs. So make sure you open up the description down below and check out that video. But the last thing that I want to talk about in continuation of what I just said is typically when the shoulders are rolled forwards, there's too much tightness and contraction here, but there's also going to be too much weakness of the upper back. So what we want to do is tighten up some of those muscles of the upper back and make sure that we're training them regularly with exercises that attempt to isolate them, okay? What we're really talking about here are the rhomboids, okay? And honestly, with a resistance band, you can train these muscles extremely well. So we want to do stuff like band pull-aparts, all right? Wow, this is an old resistance band. Hopefully it doesn't break in my face. We want to be doing drills like this, okay? We're pulling until it basically touches our chest. We're not going further than that, okay? So here to here, just like that. If you want to experiment and work different angles like this, then you can, all right? But drills like this are great at basically tightening up those muscles of the upper back, right? The rhomboids, middle traps, which are gonna pull you basically out of this position, okay? This is tight pecs, weak upper back, all right? Possibly tight shoulder joint capsule, possibly thoracic spine mobility issues, the stuff that we addressed earlier. This is tight pecs too. So if we stretch the pecs, all right, now we have some more capacity to come back. What we also want to do is strengthen these muscles that pinch the scapula together, the shoulder blades together, make them real strong so that we just kind of rest in this centrated posture. So again, pulling exercises like this, you can throw in different angles here like this. You can of course do around and backs. People call these different things. I really like this drill, all right? Where you're going like this, okay? This kind of bothers a lot of people's shoulders, and you have to have pretty good shoulder joint centration just to do this, just so you know. But if you could do that and that feels okay, that's a good way to train those upper back muscles. Another one that I like to do, which is even more advanced than that, so if you can't do that without that bothering your shoulders, then this next one's really gonna bother your shoulders, so don't do this yet. But if you can do that and that drill feels okay, try this. Band, right? Instead of kind of doing the around and back, all right, you're pretty much just going from here to here, like you're pressing backwards, like a bench press, right? Like that. I don't know what that looks like from here, but a drill like this, okay? These just rock the upper back muscles, all right? You'll really feel that in those scapular retractors. These are drills that I do anytime before I train my pecs, okay? If I'm gonna be doing a bunch of bench and I know that I'm gonna have a bunch of, tightness in my pecs afterwards, I'll make sure that I do some of these last drills here, at the beginning of the workout, just so that I'm taking into consideration the concept of muscle balance, right? And I'm making sure that there's muscular development and activation of the upper back on the same day where I'm purposefully going to be creating more tension and contracting the pecs. There you have it. I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. My best-selling strength training program, Intelligent Strength, that helps you improve your posture and fix your muscle imbalances while getting stronger and leaner, it's free now. I've made it free, okay? So if you are being held back by muscle imbalances, postural misalignments, you kind of feel off balance in your body, you want a program that's 3 months long with nutritional guidelines and a bunch of other stuff baked into it, including corrective exercises, then basically open up the description down below, click the first link available there. That will take you over to my website where you can learn more about this free program. And basically on that page, I'll just ask you for your email. As soon as you enter that in, I'll send you a copy of the strength training program within 5 minutes. That's it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed this. Hope this was valuable. If it was, give me a like down below. Comment on this video. Let me know what you want me to make videos on in the future, and I'll see you next time.